Good evening. I'd like to call the village board meeting for the Village of Cary for January 12th, 2026 to order with roll call, please.
Collier,
Here.
Dudak,
Here.
McAlpine,
Here.
Persina,
Here.
Stefani,
Here.
Walrath,
Here.
Koenig.
Here. Would you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. We have a little bit of a juggling of the agenda tonight. We have the honor of recognizing our chief of police, who is decided to join the ranks of the retired, which is only something we can all hope for. I have a proclamation. Where did it go? One second. All this paper. We have a proclamation, the recognition of the retirement of Chief of Police Patrick M. Finland from the Cary Police Department, January 12th, 2026. Whereas Patrick M. Finland was appointed Chief of Police for the Village of Cary in 2014 and faithfully served in that capacity for 12 years. And throughout his tenure, Chief Finland demonstrated exceptional leadership, integrity, professionalism, fostering a culture of experience within the Cary Police Department. And whereas Chief Finland played a vital role in advancing collaborative police training initiatives and strengthening mutual aid partnerships throughout McHenry County. And whereas Chief Finland provided significant leadership and guidance in the planning and construction of the Cary Municipal Center, the Cary Regional Training Center, and firearms facility, thereby enhancing operational readiness and expanding training opportunities for law enforcement personnel across the region. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Mark Koenig, Mayor of the Village of Cary, do hereby recognize and commend Police Chief Patrick M. Finland for his dedicated service and lasting contributions to the Village of Cary and well-being of the community, and do hereby proclaim January 12, 2026 as Patrick M. Finland Day in the Village of Cary, dated this 12th day of January, 2026. Tough. I mean, he's been around here as long as I have. He was my first big thing that I was tasked to do when I first became mayor, and it was quite a challenge at the time. The remarkable difference our agency has from over the last 10 years under his leadership is remarkable. This proclamation doesn't do his service to our community the justice, so we're going to try to do that a little bit more. So, Pat, would you please join me up front? Yeah. And somehow there's always a piece of cake on my desk at the end of these things. Thank you, Chief. All right, now getting back to the basis of the meeting, we will now go to the open forum. Nick? Oh. Nick's going to read a statement.
All right, so we're at open forum, the public comment. Public comment period is intended for comments on items that are not otherwise listed on tonight's agenda. It provides an opportunity for residents to raise general matters to the board's awareness. Later this evening, the board will consider a specific agenda item related to the proposed redevelopment agreement for the Maplewood property. If you wish to comment on that redevelopment agreement, we respectfully ask that you hold those comments until that item is called, at which time public comment will be taken as part of the agenda item. Sorry, trying to catch my breath. All that running around. In accordance with the village policy displayed at the sign-in table of the boardroom, comments during general public comment are limited to 3 minutes per person, and speaking time may not be transferred or combined. The total time for this portion of the agenda is typically limited to 30 minutes. That being said, it has been the board's general practice to try to allow everyone who wishes to speak an opportunity to do so. As with all public comment, this is an opportunity for the board to listen and receive input. It is not a question and answer session. Any questions will be noted, and staff will follow up using the email address or phone number provided on the sign-in sheet. With that, we'll begin the general public comment. If you wish to speak, please come forward when your name is called.
Thank you. Peter Spizzeri.
That being said, the truth of it is what the mayor has done in bringing Chief Finlan here was he brought us a community member. When you see his activities with Rotary, for example, because as Eric mentioned that there are aspects of being a police chief or being a member of the police force in Cary that's very social, very much a part of the community. How many summers have we all gone to the farmer's market and bought the best sweet corn of the summer from the Rotary? You know, and Pat's there offering donuts. And that kind of thing is just amazing that we have that in our community, that this board, that this mayor brought us such an amazing chief. The community aspect of a chief really had never been like this in my life experience. So when you see someone who is involved with Crime Stoppers, who is involved with Cary Citizens Police Academy, who is involved with children's events, Halloween, churches in the area, golf outings. I mean, it's just wonderful to see that kind of community involvement, because when you say to protect and serve, that service isn't just when you're in a squad car. There are so many more aspects to that, to a community like Cary, where everybody is so involved, so many people are so heartfelt in how much they care for the best of Cary. And so again, with the new chief coming, I just wanted to say an extra thank you to everyone involved, because whether everybody understands it or not, I do. And Chief Finlan was a gem. We were very fortunate. Thank you all again.
Thank you, Peter. Is there anybody else who would like to address the village board on something other than what's on the agenda? Okay, we'll go ahead and close open forum at 6:14. I will entertain a motion to approve consent agenda items A through F as shown on the village's website and is displayed on the video monitor during the village board meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Dudak,
Yes.
Stefani,
Yes.
Walrath,
Yes.
Collier,
Yes.
Persina,
Yes.
McAlpine.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to our other items, I will entertain a motion to approve a resolution approving the appointment of Nathan Hayes as Chief of Police and approving an employment agreement for the Chief of Police.
So moved.
Second.
I'd like to comment a little bit about our process. We did a regional search. We hired MGT, which is a renowned recruiter in the municipal venue, especially police department, village administration, and that we're very fortunate to have had 43 candidates apply for this position. That to me, as the mayor says, that we've got a community that people want to be at. They want to join our professional ranks. So that was something that our board was very excited about. So we challenged MGT to whittle it down to the top 6 or 7 candidates. So they did that. We ended up interviewing 6 candidates. One of them dropped off and decided to stay at their community that they were at. They were offered another position there, so they stayed there. So we entered our process. The board had an opportunity to meet. Well, maybe I'll kind of go back a little bit about what the process was. Did you want to talk a little bit about that? You'll wrap it up? Okay. So we engaged MGT to go through, and they ranked all in a kind of a loose way of what the top. There was a clear division in what we were looking for and what the candidates were offering us, and it was evident during the process. It was a very difficult decision to whittle down to what we had. My position is it is my responsibility to appoint the chief of police, and it's I don't take that very lightly. With that, I need the consent and advice from our board. So when we had the meetings, it was a robust meeting, very intense. We heard from the candidates themselves that they were very pleased with the process. It was intense. It was pretty much a full day. Each person here were able to come in. They met with me. They met with staff. And they were able to get a feel for what our culture is. And throughout the entire process of this, we kept thinking about and talking with the police the current police officers we have here, including the command staff, that they want our culture to remain the same. They want us to build on the culture that we have. And I couldn't agree more. The culture that we have now is top notch. We have really come and performed quite come well when it comes to policing in our communities, in our region. I can say without fear of contradiction that we are the safest community in McHenry County, and that has a lot to do with the leadership and the culture of the department. So we were thrilled to be able to introduce these top 6 candidates to the Village of Cary, kind of go over things, and it was very, I think it was intense. There was a lot of great, well thought out candidates. We compiled our results at the end of it, and we narrowed it down to 2 people that I brought back to the board. And it was a decision that the board made, and a unanimous decision in my recommendation to bring forth Chief Hayes. Chief Hayes comes to us from the city of Marengo. He's a retired deputy from Arlington Heights. He's got a very deep policing history. So I'll turn it over to Administrator Morimoto.
Now, as the mayor said, we were fortunate to have a tough decision, and it does speak volumes about our community when we have so many great candidates. And from the administrator's position and perspective, I wish I could hire multiple people from our finalist lists. The field is that great. But as we heard today, we have really big shoes to fill with the retirement of Chief Finlan, and I am very confident that the recommendation appointment from Mayor Kaunick of Nathan Hayes as the next chief is the right one for our team and our organization and our community. So I think I hate to label or put expectations of a Pat Finlan 2.0. I think Chief Hayes is going to put his own mark on our community, but he is definitely going to embrace the culture that Chief Finlan has brought us and continue that to set the bar for all of our departments moving forward. So we're thrilled to have Chief Hayes coming on board, and we're here to answer any of the questions from the board before we take roll call for the employment agreement.
Everybody here has had an opportunity to meet with the top 2 candidates, so it was a pleasure to be able to bring a top quality candidate here. Pat Finlan's last day is Friday. Our new chief of police will be sworn in next Tuesday at our regular board meeting, and he will start with the Village of Cary on the 21st. So we are excited with this. One of the things that I'd like to do within the first 60 days, give him an opportunity to get his feet. He really wants to understand the department. He's already been introduced to the department, and we want to give him an opportunity to settle down. And then I'd like to have a meet and greet with the chief here and have the opportunity to talk with him on a one-to-one level and just kind of get a feel for his uniqueness and what he's going to bring to the village of Cary. So that said, anything else? Roll call, please.
Stefani,
Yes.
McAlpine,
Yes.
Collier,
Yes.
Walrath,
Yes.
Persina,
Yes.
Dudek.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. We welcome Chief Hayes to our team. We were looking forward to it. We will have great opportunity to. He will have a great opportunity to meet the public soon. Moving on to our next item, I will entertain a motion to approve an ordinance authorizing the execution of a redevelopment agreement for the Maplewood property as part of the Central Cary TIF District, TIF number 3 of Village of Cary, Illinois.
So moved.
Second?
Thank you. I'm going to turn it over to our attorney, who's going to make a brief statement.
Good evening to everyone. Before we begin the public comment this evening on this agenda item, the Maplewood, the development of the Maplewood site, we'd like to take a moment to describe our process, tonight's process. The board would like to acknowledge the level of interest in the community and the neighborhood that the community has shown in this particular project. The development, as you know, of this property has been a long-standing issue and item in the community. I'm going to take a moment to describe where we started and where we are today. This isn't the end of our process. It's about the middle. This item this evening is a consideration of a proposed redevelopment agreement for the Maplewood property. We want to be clear that the specific project details, such as building height, setbacks, architectural style, and similar items will be part of the zoning process if the development agreement is approved. And they'll be discussed in greater details at public hearings that are to be held before the Planning and Zoning Commission. So I mentioned that this evening is not the first discussion of the development of this property. The planning for this property started years and years ago, most formally with the village's comprehensive plan in 2015, which proposed a development of this kind at that time after the development of that plan, the careful development of that plan. Since that time, in January, since 2015, the village board has had the opportunity to consider multiple development proposals for this property. Most of those were carefully considered, and they did not move forward. The project that we have before us this evening, the agreement, is a project that the village believes has merit, and we'll discuss tonight whether or not to approve an agreement to move forward further. In January, this board held the initial meeting regarding this particular identified project. That was an open meeting of the board. Public comment was available to the community, and there were a number of people who attended that meeting and offered their comments regarding a development of this kind. The development proposal was also shared publicly with extensive discussion by the village staff, by the development team, with a PowerPoint presentation, and those materials remained available and have remained available on the village's website. In March of this last year, the board once again had an open public meeting and took public comment on a preliminary development agreement that was entered into with this development team. The project once again was shared with the community here publicly. The community, neighborhood was allowed to make public comment and did for the board to hear and consider, as well as the development team. On June 18th and June 25th, the development team held community meetings, as I understand it, with the neighborhood, allowing interaction with the development team and direct comments and communications about the concerns of the community. and issues that they wish to raise with the development team. The development team has attempted to incorporate a number of those comments and feedback into their development proposal. There have been a number of meetings regarding the public road extension in that area, the access way. There was a public meeting held on the road extension on October 15th, which was open to the public and well attended. The village staff attended and shared the information that they had about the purposes of the access roadway and its relationship to this development. Since February 28th, 2025, the Cary News Weekly has included ongoing information about the progress of this development, the details that the village has at all times, and any of the changes or updates to the project. We have had a dedicated website, the village has, related to this particular development since April 4th of 2025. Information about the development has been in every Cary News Weekly since February 28th, well over 40 newsletters, if you read the newsletter, plus special advisories regarding this development that are posted on the website over time. This has also been posted on Facebook, the same information, if you use different social media, and on the Textcaster, the village Textcaster. So even though tonight's discussion and item is not a public hearing at which the village would take evidence, as the Plan Commission does at a public hearing, the board believes it's important to hear from you residents and from everyone who has taken the time to join us here this evening. In accordance with village policy, public comments are limited to 3 minutes per person, and speaking time, as the assistant manager has noted, may not be transferred or combined. To be fair to everyone who wishes to speak this evening, and to help us manage what may be overlapping comments, we respectfully ask that if your perspective has already been shared, you note your agreement with those comments and use your time to focus on any additional points you may feel have not been raised for the board's consideration. As noted earlier in the meeting by staff, public comment is intended to allow this board to listen to your concerns and the issues that you are raising, receiving your input for their consideration. It is not a question and answer session. Questions cannot be answered this evening in real time. Staff, after public comment is offered or questions are raised, staff will do their best to address those concerns at an appropriate time after the meeting. The board can ask any additional clarification regarding any comments you may offer this evening, or from staff or the development team, based on the issues or questions that may be raised during public comment. Throughout this process, we ask that comments be directed to the board as a whole and that everyone remain respectful, which we are certain you will. The village board appreciates your attendance this evening, your participation, and your engagement.
Thank you, Attorney Euler. We are anxious to hear what people have to say about this, but we feel it's probably in our best if we let the staff make their presentation so everybody gets on the same page. Some of the questions that you have may be answered. Please take note if we're not answering something to your liking, jot that down and use that for your 3 minutes so that we can make sure that we're answering your questions. Like Attorney Euler said, if we can't answer your question tonight, we will take your name and phone number or email and we will get back to you. Our deputy clerk, Nicole Collingborn, is here with us. She's going to be making sure that we write down all the questions that are being asked, and so that we can make sure that we have a true follow-up with the questions if we can't answer them tonight. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our Community Development Director, Brian Simmons, who's going to start us off.
Thank you, Mayor. Before I really begin with the kind of the background of the project and how we got to where we're at today, I just wanted to highlight a few people that have worked diligently in this project. In addition to myself, there was another large team from the village's standpoint that was working with the developer on the redevelopment agreement. First off to my right, Village Administrator Morimoto did assist with the project. We were several meetings with the development team to review the terms of the development and the agreement, as did Assistant Village Administrator Radcliffe assisted with it as well. Economic Development Specialist Dan Gardner provided a lot of assistance from an experience standpoint, working on similar projects in other communities, both on the public and private side of things, and then also the village's TIF consultant team from Ryan LLC was represented here this evening with Chuck Durham in attendance. We had Chuck, Zorn, and Brett were instrumental in the negotiations with the development team. In addition, once the agreement was finalized, the terms of the agreement were basically agreed to by the developer and the village team back in December. The negotiations or the finalization of the agreement, assistance through our attorney's office with Klein Thurman Jenkins and Scott Euler, assisted with finalizing the agreement, which came to its final form late last week. And upon the acceptance of the agreement by both the village and the developer, we obviously distributed to the board here and also made it available to the public. With quick background, jump into before letting the developer provide an overview of the project. As the board's aware, the project began in earnest in August 24 when the village entered into an intergovernmental agreement with School District 26 regarding the property. As part of that agreement, we agreed to purchase the property for the $2.75 million, which was the most recent purchase price for the property that the district had at that time. And then we also provided additional assistance in roughly $2.7 million for the relocation of the bus transportation center. The transportation center received its zoning entitlements this past summer, and then construction of that facility started roughly a month and a half ago. It is anticipated that that new facility will be completed and operational by this summer. Following the acquisition of the property, the village began our redevelopment process, which we distributed a request for proposals from the development community for the property. And then we had 3 responses that were reviewed by the village board in January of last year, and JM Developers was selected from those responses to be the developer of choice for this project. As mentioned by Mr. Euler, in March 25, we entered in a preliminary development agreement with the developer, which had 2 extensions that were granted to finalize the plan with site plan and also work through the financial terms here. In June of this year, the developer hosted the 2 open houses to provide feedback from the community on their plan, which brings us to consideration of the redevelopment agreement this evening. With that, quickly, the purpose of the redevelopment agreement is to set the terms for redevelopment of the property. If approved, it would be a binding contract between the village and the developer related to this property. Various components of the agreement specify the need for the agreement to develop the site. Definitions and terms are defined within the agreement. And also defining the area of the property that would be developed for redevelopment. The agreement includes various components for the phasing and timing of the project as far as what components will be built first, what is required to be done, and then also the approvals that are required for the project as far as permitting, zoning, and the like. There are also defined requirements within the agreement for the obligations of both the developer and the village to ensure that both parties follow through on the agreements as far as the requirements of the agreement. There are terms that need to be met before the conveyance of the property to the developer. There are various performance measures that the developer needs to adhere to meet to ensure that the project is developed in a timely fashion. And also there are parameters regarding the incentive components that are provided as part of the agreement. Finally, within the agreement, as far as other legalese, there's also additional protections that are in there as far as how the village may be protected in the case of the developer unable to complete the project or other external forces that may occur that would stall the project from that standpoint. So before I go into more of the details of the agreement, I'll allow Michael to provide an overview of the project, introduce the development team, and go from there. Michael?
Thank you. Good evening, and thank you to the mayor, the village board, the village staff, the residents of Cary for the opportunity to speak tonight. My name is Michael Poulikitis. I'm here on behalf of Cordigan Clark and Associates and JM Developers. With me is Brian Cordigan, or Brian Kronwitter. Apologize for that. Brian Kronwitter, principal at Cordigan Clark and JM Developers, as along with Joseph Paluski, who is a fiscal impact expert and who also was a part of the rigorous discussions that went back and forth to get us to where we are today. As we are aware, tonight's focus is on the agreement itself. I want to stress that we understand that there's still a formal planning and zoning process ahead where site design, layout, and technical details will continue to be reviewed publicly and thoroughly. We understand as developer that process matters and we fully support it. Even before reaching out to this point, we understood the importance of public feedback. That's why, as been mentioned, we held 2 public meetings that were not required, but we felt it important. Those meetings generated strong turnout, thoughtful feedback, and meaningful dialogue. We believe that we listened carefully and that we incorporated input into the plan that you see today, and we'll get into in a brief minute. Those conversations directly helped inform these decisions about the land use, the connectivity, the design, and the community amenities. Beyond the public input, this proposal has been shaped by a significant amount of professional analysis. We have invested in market studies to ensure the housing types align with the real demand in Cary, pricing impact studies to understand the effects of the development to the surrounding neighborhoods, traffic studies to evaluate the circulation, safety, and access issues, and also fiscal impact studies to confirm what I'm about to discuss briefly about the long-term benefits to the village of this development. Taken together, these studies helped ensure that this is not a speculative or rushed project on our part, but a well-informed and carefully considered development. We recognize that no project will ever please everyone, but we truly believe this plan reflects what's in the best interest of Cary as a community as a whole, not just today, but on the long term. If we can get to the part of the proposal, and again, we do understand, I want to stress that this is not final yet, but where we have what is being proposed as of today prior to planning and zoning is a for sale component consisting of 13 single-family homes along Krenz, 15 townhomes behind the single-family homes, and 16 duplexes running north and south behind the School Street homes. Multi-family units, 236 units, consisting mostly of studios, 1 and 2 bedrooms, and only 6 3-bedrooms. Amenities such as outdoor pool, fitness center, workspaces, and community kitchen. Green spaces, including a public accessible park, dog park, and stormwater detention / rain gardens, important to the development and the area as a whole. Getting to that feedback, from where we started, we believe that we have listened, that we took the community feedback and made changes. Changes to the green space. A community-centered public park that enhances, not replaces, our natural surroundings with environmentally responsible storm water management, peaceful walking paths, natural green screening to protect neighboring properties, and a safe, accessible playground and park area for families. Multi-family residential building changes. Due to the proximity to the houses on Krenz, we reduced the height of the multi-family residential, which was listed as number 1 in the previous slide, to 4 stories. Also, which we believe was feedback directly given from the neighborhood, the surrounding community, we removed access to Prairie Street from the multifamily development to ease congestion to the area. The townhome heights, we removed 3-story townhomes along Krenz and instead introduced 2-story townhomes set back behind existing single-family homes, significantly reducing the visual impact and preserving the character of the neighborhood. And one of the most significant changes, single-family homes, removing townhomes along Krenz Avenue, and instead of introducing fewer single-family homes with front porches, reinforcing neighborhood character, walkability, and a more familiar residential feel. This is one of the most important visible properties in the village. It's walkable, it's connected, and it sits alongside established neighborhoods. Yet for years, it's remained vacant with no path forward as a school site, civic building, or institutional use. Our proposal is about changing that with transparency, accountability, and community involvement, turning this long underutilized site into a true community asset. The former Maplewood site, we understand, holds deep meaning for many families, and we respect that legacy. Our plan includes to honor the history through thoughtful design, naming, and commemorative elements. We're not erasing the past, we're building from it. But we have to be honest with each other. We believe that the building is at its end of its useful life. Reviving it would require significant public investment with limited return, and leaving it vacant, we believe, is not a neutral decision, and doing nothing comes at a cost. This project begins by removing a long abandoned structure and replacing it with something active and welcoming, which we believe is in-demand housing, public green space, walkable paths, a safer, more direct connection to downtown and the metro. Instead of an isolated site, this becomes a place where people can live, walk, gather, and support the community. We've also heard the question, why not keep this site as a park? While understandable, this is a centrally located in transit-adjacent property. A park here would generate no tax revenue, require ongoing maintenance, and miss a rare opportunity to support housing, downtown vitality, and infrastructure investment, particularly so close to the brand-new metro. Cary has parks. What it does not have, we believe, is an abundance of land like this that can actively support its long-term goals. When we look at realistic alternatives, this type of residential development is the most responsible and compatible choice, we believe. Low-density options would underutilize the site. Commercial use would introduce traffic and activity incompatible with nearby homes while competing with downtown rather than supporting it. Placing residents here near downtown, near transit, and near existing neighborhoods strengthens Cary in the right way. This development expands access to quality, attainable housing, introduces a mix of housing types, including multifamily residences, townhomes, and select single-family homes. It'll serve seniors, young professionals, families, and households with good incomes, allowing people to stay in Cary through different stages of life. And to be clear, this is fully market rate housing. The project directly supports downtown Cary and the new metro station by encouraging walkability, reducing car dependence, and increasing daily activities that supports local businesses. The planned access road further enhances connectivity by providing safer, more direct access for commuters, pedestrians, and bicyclists to the metro station and downtown. Economically, this development returns the property to the tax rolls, generating new revenue to support village services, schools, and infrastructure without increasing the burden to existing residents. It'll create jobs during construction and long-term employment in property management, maintenance, landscaping, and so on, while increasing consumer traffic for nearby businesses. Just as important as what we're building is how we're building it. This project, we believe, is structured as a partnership with the village, including financial transparency, performance benchmarks that protect the village's interest. Our team is committed to long-term ownership and management. This is not a build and sell project for us. We will be here, accountable to the village and to the neighbors for years to come. I know there are residents who there are residents who oppose the project, and we respect those voices. Their feedback has helped shape this plan. While we cannot please everyone, we are confident that we are working towards what is the best interest of the community as a whole. So tonight, we are respectfully asking for the approval of the village board and the continued engagement and support of the Cary residents for development that uses the land responsibly, is informed by community input and rigorous study, expands the housing choice in Cary, strengthens downtown Cary, supports metro and walkability, generates tax revenue without burdening residents, creates jobs, and again, I can't stress enough, supports local businesses, provides meaningful public spaces, keeps stewardship in committed hands, and honors the past while building for the future. We believe this is a thoughtful, based, and well-informed path forward for the Maplewood site and a lasting investment in the village of Cary. I want to thank you for your time, your consideration, your service to the community, and respectfully ask that the agreement be approved.
Thank you. Brian?
Sure. Good. So get into the details of the agreement as drafted. So as currently proposed, as Michael had referenced, the project will be built in multiple phases. So phase 1 and 2, should the agreement be supported, will begin this year. Phase 1 is the demolition of the existing property, removal of the existing fuel tank that's on the property, and remediation of that location. And then following the demolition of the property, excavation and site work would begin shortly after that. Phase 3, which would be the development of the for sale product, would be the next phase to begin. That would include the portion of the site for the single-family homes that are front on Krenz Avenue, the townhouse units, and the duplexes. As anticipated, construction on those would begin later this year, with first move-ins or sales occurring in 27, and final sales occurring in 2028. Phase 4 would be the development of the multifamily portion of the project. As currently proposed or contemplated, that is the 3 multifamily buildings, a mixture of 17 studio apartments, 121 one-bedroom apartments, 92 two-bedroom apartments, and 66 three-bedroom apartments. That portion of the project would begin work in 2027, with substantial completion of those buildings by late 28, with lease-up anticipated into early 29. To detail how the agreement sharing structure is established, this slide will help to walk through, for the board consideration and for the public knowledge as well, how the increment sharing structure will work within the agreement. As contemplated for the project, we are anticipating, based on the proposed development budget of around $95 million for the project, and the development of the site, that this project will generate throughout the life of the TIF district until the TIF expires about $36.5 million of new property taxes. That within property increment will be captured by the TIF district, and that'll be utilized for the terms of this agreement that'll be shared with the village, the developer, and other impacted taxing bodies. So utilizing that revenue as a base, I'll walk through as far as how the agreement is established that would share those revenues. So the first component that we are required per statute, we're required to set aside 42% of any increment that is generated by the site for impacted districts. And that includes the 2 school districts in addition to the library district as well. So the dollar amounts that are shown here are, again, per statute, but are projected over the life of the TIF. So that would be through the 20 years remaining in the TIF district, that those monies we have to set aside first to ensure that if there are any impacts to these districts from this development, as far as new students or new patrons that would be at the library district, that there are funds that could be utilized to offset those costs for the districts. So before I go on, is there any questions from the board regarding that requirement? So the remaining 58% of the increment that would be generated by the site, the developer and the village have agreed to share those costs. So 29% of the increment that would be generated by the site would be provided to the village or retained by the village for revenue within the TIF district for improvements within the TIF district. And the other 29% would go back to the developer for their financing of the project. As I mentioned, with the set-asides for the school districts, there is a calculation that is required per state statute to determine on an annual basis how much money will actually go to those districts. So if this project, for example, for School District 26 is estimated to generate, based on the unit mix, 30 new students on an annual basis. Some years it could be higher, some years it could be lower than that amount, but those are population projections based off our impact fees. The state has established a requirement or a formula that's based off the actual costs of providing services to students within the district minus any state funding that the school district receives on a per student basis. That number is then multiplied by the number of students that are new to the development or new to the village from this development, so that the school districts are required on an annual basis to provide a report to the village during the summer months of new students that were incurred from the development that live and reside in this location, and then they can request funds directly from the development to offset those costs. We are anticipating then whatever those funds are, there would be an excess amount that might be required. So if this development is anticipated to have 30 students, the school district will have excess funds from that set aside that would be remaining, that would go back into the TIF, that would then be shared with the village and the developer as well. Should this project produce more than those 30 students, obviously the fee on an annual basis would increase and be closer to what the increment would be. In that case, there may not be any excess that would be shared from that standpoint.
And just to clarify, when Director Simmons mentioned new students, so it's new students that move to the district and reside in this development. If a student were to live in Cary and already attend District 26 or 155 and move to development, that's not a new student to the district, so that would not apply to the calculation.
Before I move on, is there any questions regarding the calculation for excess payments? All right. Similarly, there's a calculation within the for library districts as well. Again, this would be new patrons to the library district that would come from the development. So if there are new residents in the development that would utilize the library services, the library may also request fees from the TIF district for the offsetting of those costs. Any excess funds that remain from that payment would also go back into the TIF for potential sharing. After the calculation of what the actual payments are to the individual taxing bodies, the excess goes back in the TIF, and then that would be shared, again, at a 50-50 ratio between the village and the developer, and that's how, over the life of the TIF, we're anticipating the total revenue to the village and the development team about $12.35 million. Per the terms of the agreement, the developer's share of the increment is maxed at 12.35. So should the projections of the tax projections of what the site development produces exceed the $36.5 million, the developer would only receive the $12.35 million. The excess or extra that would be generated would then be fully committed to the village for use within the TIF district. As mentioned, with the reduction of the excess funds and the actual payments, we're anticipating that School District 26 would benefit with around $7 million for the life of this agreement, and School District 155 around $3.5 million through the increment that would be generated by the site and potential student impacts that would be received from this as well. In the library district, around $200,000 is proposed. Any questions regarding this information before I proceed?
I have one quick question. Those are max projections. If they fall short, is the sharing still split 50-50?
Yes. So if the tax increment that's generated by the site falls short of the $36 million, so if it's $30 million, then the percentage calculations would still be accurate as far as what the sharing would be, the 29% plus the 50% of the excess. But the total dollar amount of the $12.35 million may not actually be obtained during that time period. In addition to the annual increment that would be generated by the project over the life of the TIF, there will be certain one-time revenues that would be generated by the development. And this slide will provide an overview of those impacts. First, the project will generate about $1.1 million in water and sewer tap-on fees for the 3 multifamily buildings and all the for-sale homes that are constructed on the site. That revenue would go into the village's water and sewer fund for support of our water infrastructure within the community. Additionally, there will be about $300,000 worth of building permit fees that would be generated by the project. That would be general fund revenues that would be seen by the village. In addition to permit fees, there would be additional $110,000 roughly of plan review and inspection fees through our consultant services that the developer would be responsible for paying as to the develop the site. Those would be generally pass-through expenses to our consultants that assist with our review processes. In total, the village would experience then about $1.5 million in total development, one-time development fees for the project. In addition, the village does collect impact fees from developments for new housing units that are constructed in the community. Those generally go to other taxing districts for potential infrastructure needs to accommodate those new developments. And these would be paid upon the sale of the units, individual for sale units, or completion of the multifamily buildings. So initially, the impact fees for the school districts based on the unit mix that is proposed in this project would be about $286,000, and that would be shared based on a ratio with School District 26 and School District 155. Additionally, for the Park District, there will be, as mentioned as part of the presentation, there will be a public park that will be dedicated as part of this project. Within the impact fees, the village's impact fees are generally their fees in lieu of land donation. So in this case, the Park District fee, generally without a land donation, is around $800,000, but with the proposed park donation and the improvements thereof, there's a formula within the Unified Development Ordinance that allows for a reduction in those impact fees. And that's based off the actual population projection for the property, the land that is dedicated, the amount of land that's required to be dedicated versus the land that actually would be dedicated, and the cost of the improvements on the site. So that estimate right now of roughly $500,000 will be dependent upon what the costs are to actually develop that park and what is dedicated to the Park District as part of the project. Additionally, there will be impact fees paid to the Cary Fire Protection District based on the unit mix of $140,000. And then as part of the negotiations for the development staff and the developer agreed to an impact fee to the Village of Cary of an additional $1 million that would go to the community that we can utilize, or the village can utilize as he sees fit. It would go to the general fund. So that is funds that would be on a per unit basis for the for sale units. When those are sold, it would be collected in about $22,000 per unit, but the village board would be able to utilize that funds for purposes as seen throughout the community. Other items that the village has committed to within the agreement would be the demolition and remediation costs associated with the Maplewood property. The school, the developer will advance the demolition of the property or do the work for clearing the site of the existing improvements. The village has agreed that we will, however they're doing the improvements, we will pay for the cost to remove that structure. And that would be TIF eligible expense through the TIF fund. Additionally, there's, in 2017, the village did a stormwater analysis throughout the community that identified there is a need to replace a stormwater or storm sewer in the vicinity of the property along School Street. The developer has agreed to perform that improvement as part of the work that they are doing on the site, but that would again be at the village's expense through the TIF district. So we will pay for the total for that improvement. Additionally, there will be, with the combination of the existing Frankie subdivision stormwater basin, the required stormwater for the new access roadway, and stormwater for the development, as opposed to having 3 separate basins. We are coordinating to create one larger basin that would accommodate the required stormwater of those 3 components that the developer will be responsible for the maintenance of long-term. But we were entering into a shared maintenance agreement with the developer for that to share in the costs on an annual basis. Within the agreement, there are various protections that are established, which are summarized in this slide, that will protect the village interests related to the property and the development. As mentioned, the maximum reimbursement amount is capped at that $12.35 million. So should the development produce more increment than what is anticipated or generated, or to be generated, the incentive would not increase beyond that $12.35 million. Also, if there are less students that are generated by the site that create more excess increment, would allow the cap to be reached further, so that would potentially give the village additional funds towards the end of the TIF that could be utilized for public improvements within the TIF, or if not necessary, possibly dispersed back to the affected taxing bodies by the district. The reimbursement amount would be paid solely by the increment property taxes that are generated by this project. It would not be utilized or utilize funding from other properties within the TIF district. It would only be solely by the revenues that are generated by this site. In addition, if the project does not generate that $12.35 million in anticipated increment, there's no obligation within the agreement for the village to make up that difference. So if the site only generates $11 million worth of increment to the developer, that is the max that they would receive. Additionally, there are provisions within the agreement so that if the costs to develop the site are different than what is anticipated within the project budget, for instance, if the project is anticipated to cost $100 million and it costs $90 million to construct, that 10% reduction could also reduce the maximum reimbursement amount as well. So that would be something that we would have provisions within the agreement to do an accounting of the actual construction costs to determine what were the costs to develop the site, and then what would be the village's actual obligation to reimburse the development for. And also the payments from the increment that is collected by the site, no payments would begin for those dollar funds until the multifamily portion of the project is completed. So if there is a delay of any sort in the project that causes the multifamily portion to not be completed in late 28, if it's in 29 or 2030, that the site may be generating increment by some development that may have occurred on the site, but there would not be any payments made by the village to the development team until that multifamily portion of the project is completed. Additionally, for the transfer of the property from the village to the developer, there are various elements that are required to be completed prior to the transfer of the property, including the receiving from the developer, the receiving of their plan and permit approvals. So they have to submit for the necessary permits and be approved for the development of their site. And then also they have to demonstrate to the village that they have obtained the necessary financing to complete the project. So prior to the construction of the property, they will have to provide information to the village that will be reviewed by the village to determine that the adequate financing has been obtained for the entire project. Also, there are other provisions within the code for securing the property should the project not be completed. There's provisions for a mortgage on the property so that should the development not be completed, that there's the ability for the village potentially to recapture the assessed value of the site of that $2.3 million that could return the value of the property to the village, for the conveyance of the property. Additionally, what I refer to as a ghost special service area could be created in the property. That is more of a long-term aspect where if the developer, the property owner, does not maintain the property, or there's an issue where the village has to step in to correct a potentially an issue with the stormwater basin or something like that, the village can then reassess those costs to perform those improvements to the special service area that would be affected to the property owners that would be in place at the time on the Maplewood property. So just a summarize of the redevelopment agreement. This slide shows the anticipated annual increment or taxes that would be generated by the site would be about $1.8 million. In total over the agreement, as mentioned, would be $36.5 million of new taxes that would be generated by the site. The village, again, is required to set aside of those revenues 42% on an annual basis for the school and library districts. And then the remaining 58% of the increment plus the whatever excess may exist from those schools set-asides for the districts would be shared at a 50-50 ratio between the developer and the portion up to that max of 12.35 cap. In addition, these are the summary of all the one-time or the total impact from the development, also the increment share over time, but also the one-time impact fees and development fees that would be realized by each taxing body within the village through this development. At the end of the TIF district for this agreement, or for this development, we're estimating that the new equalized assessed value of the property would increase from what is today $0 to roughly $31.8 million. And the new taxes that would be generated by the site at the end of the TIF would be about $2.4 million that would be shared amongst all the taxing bodies within the village. And just to summarize, again, the purpose of tonight's meeting is the consideration of the redevelopment agreement. Should the board support the agreement this evening, the anticipated next steps for the project would be to go through the zoning entitlement process this spring, with this summer District 26 anticipating to vacate the property once their new transportation center is completed construction. Demolition would start on the property shortly thereafter, with the access roadway construction to start in summer 27, and substantial completion of both the proposed development project and the roadway to occur in 2028. I'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have as well, and the developer is here to provide any questions for their development is also.
Any questions for staff for the developer right now? All right, now I'd like to turn it over to the community. I typically have the reputation of giving everybody an opportunity to talk. I'll go row by row, asking each individual person to come up, state your name. You have 3 minutes to let us know what you're thinking. Again, just to reiterate this is what we're contemplating, the financial package that we're going to offer the developer and how it will benefit the village of Cary. If the board chooses to accept this development agreement, then it goes to our zoning, as our attorney had said. That's when we will discuss building heights, setbacks, facades, all that type of thing. That'll be flushed out during that process. But in order for us to move forward with this, we need to have a solid financial package that will ultimately benefit the village of Cary and all of its taxing bodies, to make sure that we are taking care of ourselves, that we're providing something that's sustainable and meaningful for the community. So we've taken our time. Some people wondering if we're rushing this through. We've been dealing with this concept I've been mayor for 13 years. I was a trustee before that. We've been dealing with this for 15, 16 years. This is something that we are not rushing through. We are taking our time. It seems like it drags on a little bit, but we have one shot to get this right. We want to make sure that it benefits the entire community. We want to make sure that it has little impact on the surrounding neighborhoods. But tonight, we are considering the financial agreement through our RDA, and that's what we're focusing on this evening. So I would like to invite the residents to come up, state your name, address, and let us know what your questions are. And we can either answer them right away, or we'll have to get back to you. So I'll start up the front row here. Any questions, comments? Next, please.
Good evening. I hadn't planned on speaking, but I'm very glad I came tonight. A lot of good information. My name's Christy Wagner, 539 Krenz Avenue. I can see why this is so appealing to the board. There are millions and millions of dollars being tossed around here, and it's a little overwhelming to hear all this, to see what is projected for what has been a mainly residential area, single-family home area. My one question that I'm a little concerned about is we're asking Cary Fire Protection District to serve a new area with hundreds and hundreds of people projected to be living there, and $140,000 for EMS and fire just does not seem enough. I'm kind of concerned about that.
Let me, that's just an impact fee?
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just a one-time impact fee. They
Right.
will be reimbursed through the
Through
taxation.
taxes.
Through taxes
Right.
there.
But I'm surprised by that. And I can see the lure of this development in terms of the projected revenue for the village. But I wonder what the residents are giving away or losing. And that's it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Next row. Any comments? Row after that?
Hello, Martha Ritter, Cary, the development that has no name. I have been in contact with a group called Legacy Conservation. I asked them if they would do a study on the forest in Cary, behind in the baseball fields. They said that is what they do. They would send a group of people out to do a study of what animals they will be uprooting and a study of plants and trees. They would need $80 and permission from property owner. I've been asking for TIF money for them to do this for 9 months. So, for I have received no answer. I do see that TIF money has been given to businesses in town, a lot more than $80 to a builder for taller trees, and a lot more than the $80 I asked for. How long does it take the board to give an answer? Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in that row? The next row, it's out the fifth row, sixth row, seventh row. Anybody have any comments? Okay, we'll start in the back, work our way up.
I'm at the back, Mayor.
That's fine. Welcome.
Bill Rietveld, 551 Krenz. A few comments. Phase 1 and 2 for the project. How will that's going to impact the traffic on Krenz Avenue? We would respectfully ask that all traffic, construction traffic, would be kept off of the residential street. You know, take your shortest way out and head to Main Street. Don't have big trucks running up and down through the neighborhood. Phase 3 and 4 is going to do the same thing, but then it's going to be the construction of the homes. You're going to have all sorts of contractors, cement trucks. You know, think about where you're going to route them. Then the other thing I'd like to mention is how these two things, are they the road, the access road? In my view, I would like to see that thing completely done and then send all the traffic that way. Keep them out of the neighborhood. You know? Put the horse in front of the cart, not behind it. I would like to thank the developer for saying the things that he said, that the people that came to the meeting, I can see that they considered our input. But I can tell you that behind me and in the neighborhood, we would like to see nothing but single-family homes. But as a businessman, you know, that's not going to happen. You can't please everybody, but that's what we would like to see. A large park. The developer said, oh, there's plenty of parks in Cary. Well, there's none in the Frankie subdivision. 0. I'd like to see the whole darn thing be a dog park, in my opinion. But I got 30 seconds. One last thing. With the bus garage, there's a new traffic pattern now. I would also respectfully ask that the left turn lane heading east is also closed down. There's just now, the only thing that you see is a sign saying left turn lane closed. How about putting up some cones and barricades? Because you're gonna have people side by side and then trying to cut in. I'm done. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. We're trying to keep this moving along, so I do feel that this needs to be addressed right away. I'm going to turn this over to Administrator Morimoto.
Like the mayor said, our intent's not to go back and forth, but these are pretty quick ones to answer, so I'll address some of those questions right away just because they're very fast and simple. The agreement as constructed now does include conditions that the construction traffic during the project, so during that phase 1 and throughout the project for that matter, would not be able to use the roads in the existing Frankie subdivision neighborhood. They would be required to rely upon either temporary access constructed through the right-of-way towards the west on the alignment of the access road, or through the existing metro lot until such time that the other access is constructed. So yeah, under no certain terms would construction traffic be going through the existing neighborhood. That's part of the construct of the RDA as we've negotiated. And then the park, as you saw in the exhibits, is included as a condition to be developed and constructed per the specs of the Cary Park District before conveyed. So that park is part of the, again, part of the RDA and part of the negotiated product here. And then the access road as well for the whole development. As you saw in the earlier presentation, the RDA does specifically say that all traffic from the multifamily and from all the townhomes and the duplexes must only utilize the access road. So we are only setting it that way. None of the new development traffic, except for those 13 new small lot single-family homes, would use the Krenz Avenue or the rest of the subdivision. So that concern was heard early in the process for the feedback and was part of the terms that staff negotiated with the developer.
Thank you. Well, next row, is there anybody in your, next row?
Hello, Elaine Bailey, 212 Mary Lane. I just want to say a few things. So the decision you make today will shape Cary's future for generations. I have several concerns about this development agreement and want to address them clearly. First, myself and many citizens have repeatedly asked the village to reconsider such a dense development on the Maplewood property. A high-density project like this will significantly alter the character of our development. Residents living in Cary expect developments that complement existing neighborhoods and support the quality of life. I'm asking the board again, just as I have in the past, to go back to the drawing board and find a developer who will prioritize a plan for single-family or duplex owner-occupied homes on the Maplewood property. Homes that match and coincide with the surrounding neighborhood. In this proposal, there is only a bare minimum of owner-occupied homes. If the board continues with this plan, I ask, what safeguards will the village put in place to prevent corporations from purchasing these homes and converting them into rentals? We all know there's a housing crisis in our country. By adding more rentals is not the answer. We need homes that families can own, not corporations. The next major issue is the sale price of $1, with the property being sold as is. Yet, include caveats for reimbursement to the developer for site preparations. Selling the property as is means the buyer accepts all existing conditions, including demolition and site preparations. Providing reimbursement contradicts this principle and effectively changes the terms of the sale. Properties sold as is typically reflect a lower purchase price to account for demolition or remediation needs. Reimbursing these costs gives the developer a double benefit at taxpayers' expenses: a discounted price plus full reimbursement. Even if reimbursement is tied to TIF funds, it creates delays in realizing TIF benefits for other projects. The village should prioritize simplicity and fiscal responsibility. As trustees, you represent the residents of this community. Please make your decision today with a community mindset, not just a municipality mindset. Cary's future depends on it. And to everyone here tonight, if you share these concerns, speak up. Your voice matters. Together, we can ensure development in Cary reflects the values and priorities of its residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else in that row?
Paul and Gallinair, 575 Krenz. I'd like to sort of emphasize, or not reiterate, but second what Elaine said about the single-family homes being made, offered to families and individuals. Based on our research, JM Developers is also associated with a bunch of other real estate companies. So I would ask that the board try to put something in place where they're basically not selling it to themselves and then renting out those homes. The Village of Cary, with those single-family homes, with this particular development, has an opportunity to offer homes to families and not to corporations for that entire area to be rented out, whether it's homes, townhomes, or luxury apartments. The other thing I want to say is, or get clarification on, is because it was a little confusing as the graphics were up on the screen. The way that the tax split was put up there, is the developer going to get a tax split plus additional TIF expenses, or is the max that the developer can get that $12.5 million, right? So, you know, it was just a little confusing as far as how the monies are dispersed. And then last but not least, when it comes to police and fire, as far as the tax, TIF funds being set aside, I didn't see any graphic up there that showed that police and fire were getting anything set aside. It was all about the 2 school districts and the library. So if you can clarify when police and fire will receive tax funds that goes beyond the impact fee, that would be helpful. So thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Okay.
I live on the corner of West Main and School Street, so I live about 2 feet from Maplewood. I'm old enough to have been able to actually go there for kindergarten, so I understand the sentimentality behind the redevelopment as a whole. But that being said, the idea of building apartments and multifamily homes goes completely against the character of Cary as a neighborhood. It's not a place where young people live and then go to school. It's a place where families settle down and raise a family. I'm just across the street on West Main. They built some new apartments, and they're all empty, or they're basically all empty. So these apartments and these studio apartments and the entire thing, or the plans 3 and 4, those buildings, it's a market that doesn't exist because people don't raise families in studio apartments. Building copy and pasted and overpriced, or eventually overpriced, tiny little apartments in a village of single-family homes is not going to bring in new residents, or young residents at least. It's going to push future residents out because the village has almost lost its identity. And with all that being said, this isn't no change forever, because obviously the building can't be used for a lot of things. But what this is please don't wreck this last little slice of American suburbia that has not been tainted by ugly corporate apartments that just ruin the idea of a single-family home village. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we've had several questions. Okay, one more.
Hello, my name's Josh. As someone who's lived across the street from Briargate and went there and to Cary Grove, I've seen that all my friends and my family moved here when they were young couples. And as someone who's now in their 20s and approaching the age where I want to settle down and start a family of my own, I'd rather do it in a single family home like I grew up in rather than some corporate apartment, like he said, where it's just hundreds of people confined into basically just blocks. I'd rather have somewhere where I can have my children play and have pets of my own, just like I grew up with, and not be stuck somewhere paying thousands of dollars for rent, as rent in this area is extremely high. And it's concerning to me to see that this area that I've grown up in and grown to love is turning into something where, like these apartments with a dog park that's not even a full acre, and a pool that will go unused for most of the year as winters here are cold and summers are not very warm. So I'd hope that you guys take into consideration the fact that us youngsters here who are looking to eventually start families of our own don't want something like this. We want something like we grew up with single-family homes that support the American dream. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll now attempt to, is there anybody else that would like to address the board?
Chris Ricky, 446 Lloyd. If this goes through, and it goes in front of the zoning board, no matter what comes up that goes in front of the zoning board, if they don't approve it, whatever the case may be, Brian's on the zoning board. He knows what's wanted here. So it's kind of, and with Patrick being on the zoning board, it's like we don't have a chance, because these projects, when I've gone there, for instance, the guy across the street that built 2 seconds, it just doesn't even matter. It's, you're appointing the zoning board, so it has, if it goes in front of them, we don't have it, the public doesn't have a chance, because if they say no, you're gonna come back, you know what they want, you're gonna say yes. And he said that this is also for the seniors. Now, if you're on a fixed income, how are seniors gonna afford these apartments? It's because they're not going to be cheap, and having seniors in there for retirement, it won't work. So,
Thank you. Okay, we'll go ahead and close public comment at 7:29. There's been several questions that have been asked, and we're going to do our best to try to get the responses that you need. I'll turn it over to Director Simmons to kind of get us the ball rolling, please.
So the question was on the clarification on the tax split as far as the revenues that would be generated and the additional obligations from the village for the demolition and the school street improvements. So the total that is committed to the developer or development team is the $12.35 million of increment from the project. That is the new revenue that would be generated from the project. In addition to the $12.35 million, The village would be responsible for the costs for the demolition of the school and the improvements to the storm sewer on School Street. Those are estimated combined to be about $500,000 in costs. So that would be additional work that the developer would be performing on behalf of the village. So the village will be paying for those improvements out of the TIF fund, but the direct revenue that the developer would receive from the project is a $12.35 million. Those additional $500,000 would be other work to be performed that the village would be responsible for those payments of. The max is the 12.35, but correct. But the $500,000 for the school demolition and the School Street or storm sewer improvements are not included in that 12.35.
I'll circle back real quick to one of the questions about concerns that the left turn lane eastbound on Three Oaks Road should be closed or restricted at the new bus transportation center site. That's something that staff can work with the school district and their contractor on. The road obviously is closed with barricades across the entrance, but I do see your point, and we'll work on that.
As far as the revenues that are generated by the site, again, this slide shows the proposed increment that would be generated, which would be benefiting to the school districts. And that funding is set aside specifically in state statute. So the remainder of the funds that would be generated by the site goes into the TIF district for utilization within the TIF district. So as far as how the police and fire district would benefit from that, there would be no direct revenues to the fire district until the completion of the TIF district from this site, aside from the one-time impact fees that would be generated by the property. And similarly for the police district, there would not be, or not police district, the police department within the village of Cary, there would be not direct revenues that could be utilized for the police department from that standpoint until the TIF expires, and that the funds that are generated by the site would be general revenues to the village of Cary through our general tax levy.
One of the questions are, it's about the School Street apartments. They're 100% occupied. They have been. Yes, they are.
Are there any other public comment questions that the board would like us to expand upon or that we missed?
I would like us to, and I think this is a question for Attorney Euler. I believe that there's probably a fair housing issue. Is there something that can be done on the properties to say it can only be sold to owner-occupied individuals versus corporations on the for sale properties? Because those were some questions that were asked.
Not currently, and we can't restrict the purchase of single-family homes anywhere else in the village either. So the subdivisions that exist around this development have no such limitation either. I understand it's a concern or a problem, but we don't have the ability currently to limit that sort of transfer in ownership.
Can we restrict rentals
In what way?
for sale properties that are sold? Can we restrict them from being rented?
No.
No.
Not unless we had if we had an HOA, then you could do,
That would be up to the HOA.
Right.
To restrict the number or percentage of rentals.
Right.
So that
But if
brings
they're-
up the question of, does the developer create the HOA?
well, the question is, do they need an HOA for the homes that are going to be sold and the townhomes? Because I believe that there might be one because you're going to let them use some of the amenities, correct?
That is in discussion, correct.
So I think that would be something that, would be interesting to say, if you create an HOA, when you create an HOA, you do have the ability to say you can only have maximum X amount of rentals. I think that would be very advantageous to have something like that in there.
Okay. We'll take that under consideration and definitely be working with the village. Even if this is approved today, right, the communication doesn't stop. you know, we've talked, even though there's writing in the agreement regarding, for instance, the construction traffic, we fully plan to lay out very specifics, not even more so than what's in the agreement, to make sure that we're all on the same page as far as construction traffic. Disrupting, one thing that wasn't mentioned, like, there's a part in the agreement that we can't even open up the multifamily until the roadway is open. So we are putting the, you know, we are going through that process, right? And so that will be another issue.
Can I ask you another question? Somebody brought up that, do you guys have a practice of buying your own product and re-renting them?
No. We fully anticipate selling to homeowners.
Just
We've
asking.
engaged in realtors. We've already engaged in what we believe are some of the, you know, I shouldn't say good realtors, some of the high volume, let's put it that, high volume realtors in Cary and in the local area, to bring them on board. And we're not gonna risk our reputation with you all. They're not gonna risk their reputation. And the reality is that it's only, I feel as though these big companies, they're buying up thousands of homes at a time. We have, you know, 236 multifamily units and 50 for sale. We're not even a big enough. We're pushing the limit on not even being big enough to have a REIT purchase the multifamily, and that's why we are telling the village we're committed to keeping it long term. Right? That's where we plan. That's where we plan this to be.
Question was asked, so I asked. I appreciate the answer.
And then it just to piggyback on that, so it's important, again, we're only going over the pro forma for the financials for this right now, but you are committed to staying there long-term with
Yes.
regards to managing the property.
Yes.
And I think that's an important factor, that we don't want someone that's gonna come in here, build, and then out of here, and then, you know, have a problem on our hands.
I'm hoping for a Diet Coke with my name on it in 30 years.
Brian, do you want to continue, Brian? Have all the questions been answered? Thank you.
The construction traffic was 100% nothing through the neighborhood, correct? Just to
Correct. Yeah, and as Mr. Morano mentioned, so the intent is that as the development is constructed, there are provisions within the development agreement that all of the vehicular traffic for the development goes through the access road, with the exception of the 13 single-family homes. So we would coordinate with the development team during the construction phase for where the vehiculars would be accessing the site, would be coming from, where contractors would be parking on the site, and then how they would be accessing the site. So those would be details that we certainly be working through to limit the impacts on the neighborhood.
And construction traffic means the cars for the vendors, the suppliers, people constructing the site, their deliveries, and their workers. So it's not just getting to and from the site, but where they park. So those employees of the contractor will have designated spots, not in the Frankie subdivision, to park.
Can we just clarify one other item real quickly? I think there's a misunderstanding that Brian is part of the ZPA, and Brian does not vote on anything for the ZPA. He just sits over it, just kind of like,
It's the staff representation.
correct. I just want to make sure that people realize that he's not voting on something like that.
That's correct. Director Simmons is the facilitator of the meeting, much in the same role that I am assisting the mayor in facilitating this meeting. He does not vote. That's correct.
So I have a question for clarification as to exactly what we're going to vote on tonight, because there are a couple of things that came up through the conversation here that I think we would like to see incorporated. You know, construction traffic is not black and white. Potential for an HOA to be created with some limitation of rentals is not. I'm asking for clarification of exactly what we're voting on, because of some of the comments that were made tonight don't include what we're voting on. At least what we have here in front of us does not include anything relative to construction traffic specifically, doesn't have anything specifically relative to an HOA limitation for rental properties. So clarify for me what we're voting on, and how would items like that be incorporated into the final resolution?
It is, the construction traffic is identified in the agreement, plain and simple. Attorney Euler just pointed out to me about the HOA, HOAs are run by homeowners. Homeowners can change the rules of an HOA at any given time. So I would suspect when an HOA is formed, which I believe that's the direction that we were heading with that would be more owner occupied. People are very specific about when they're buying things, looking at other properties that have HOAs, they're very particular about things. They're very particular about how they maintain their properties. There's a lot of different things that go in that can enhance the development. This aspect being abutting a residential area, an existing residential area, I think it would call for an HOA. But as Attorney Euler had mentioned, HOAs are run by homeowners, and homeowners have the right to change terms or bylaws within their organization. So that is something that we could follow through on.
Or to impose restrictions to protect their property values.
Correct. But I mean, the HOA is initially controlled by the builder until the homeowners.
Until it's conveyed?
Correct,
Until
until
the
it's
whole-
conveyed, till everything's done. So it is something I think we can make sure that is taken care of.
So,
Trustee Dudek,
Trustee
to your-
Du- yep.
to your other point as well, as far as the construction, that is within the agreement. It's page 81 of the packet is where it begins. But is specifically Section 9 of the agreement, paragraph C, is construction, staging, and access. That limits construction access for the site by the developer and their contractors, vendors, and suppliers shall not occur in the Metro Park commuter parking lot or the public streets of the surrounding neighborhoods, which includes but is not limited to Krenz Avenue, North School Street, and North Prairie Street without prior authorization from the village.
Thank you.
Did you memorize all that?
We've gone through this presentation like 8 times. I think that.
And I know we talked about it verbally. I didn't know specifically where it was.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
So the two items that you mentioned as well, and there may be more, the zoning approval that will be needed here is a planned development. So with a planned development, there is the ability to impose conditions that impact the use of the property or the impact of the planned development on the surrounding property.
Thank you.
I think we've answered all the questions. We're looking at it live. Nicole is transcribing. I think that we have answered all the questions that have been presented here. Is there any further discussion by the village board? Any questions, comments?
I have one question. If demolition starts and there is an environmental issue, who's liable to actually clean that up? Is that us or the developer?
So it'd be,
I can answer that.
go ahead.
That it remains our property. The property is not going to be conveyed before and this is a standard condition of a redevelopment agreement. The developer has the opportunity to inspect the site thoroughly to their satisfaction. They're committed to the inspection that they complete. So once they complete that inspection, if they haven't uncovered any particular concerns of the property, they're acquiring the property as is, and the responsibility shifts. Until that time, it's our property. We're not responsible necessarily for any particular cleanup, depending on what the next use is, but we would be advised if there are any conditions out there. Because we've already acquired the property in the acquisition from the school a year and a half ago, we have inspected the site ourselves prior to this particular redevelopment process. So we have a good deal of information about what what does or does not exist on the site.
Thank
I
you.
was just going to say that, yeah, when we acquired the property, we did an evaluation and found no contamination, but that remains to be seen. Once the tank is extracted, we'll figure that out, and we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But the studies that we've done so far have shown that there is no contamination. And I believe we did a study on that maybe about 10 years ago. Yeah, so it's been done twice, and both that showed that there was no contamination.
Didn't District 26 remediate the mold in there a long time ago?
Yeah, the mold is gone, the asbestos is already gone, that's all been taken care of.
Thank you.
Last question. 42%, so that's school district, 27,155. Who sets that percentage? Is that the state or was that us?
It's the state.
Thank you. Just wanted to put
Good
that
old
out there.
state.
Thank you.
And just as I'm going to throw this out there too, one of the things that we're working on behind the scenes with the state and their state mandates and unfunded things, With this new transit bill that was just passed, that sounds all great. Collier County's got screwed. 85% of the funding will now go to the city of Chicago. With that, gives developers an opportunity as of June 1st, that a developer can come into our village and build a transit-oriented development, which is like what we're doing right now, within a half a mile radius of our train depot. And it's a quarter-mile radius of any bus station that they can come in and build what they want with no parking restrictions. So, for instance, we have a pretty strict parking restrictions in the village of Cary, which is something that we need to look at in total transparency. We have a restriction that it's 2.25 spaces per unit, which is very, we ask way too much. And as you can look through the studies that we've done, we should probably dial that down a little bit to maybe 1.75 or something like that spaces per unit, because that's what is actually needed. But think about this development adding as many units as they like. We have no control over that, and they don't have to allow for any parking. Think about that. Think about that. So these are things that we work on behind the scenes to preserve we want local control. We know what's best for our community. We work with our community. We work with our residents. We work with developers for what's best for our entire community. So those are the things that we need to be cognizant of. It's scary. It is. So, we'll continue to work on this. So as we move forward with these things, they're just trying to they want us to look like the city of Chicago. They do, because the city of Chicago doesn't have any of these requirements. So anyway,
I do want
digress.
to clarify that the proposal contemplated here tied to this RDA has parking provided. This is not a zero parking provided project. So, yeah, that's something
I
with
get
the new
crazy
state
about-
legislation, but not with this project. We're solid in that area for here.
Anyway, any other comments? Anthony? No? You're done? Dale? Rick? Ellen? David?
No, I appreciate all the work that the village has done, that the developer has done, that the community outreach element of this. I'm heartened to see the incorporation of a lot of the public feedback, and I'm privately a risk-averse person. I do think there are a lot of great protections that are involved in this RDA. I like the safeguards that exist. We're effectively selling this property for the future of Cary. And hopefully everything that we project to have happen will happen, and we'll all benefit. The village will be better for it.
Yeah. Rick?
One piece that we didn't touch into is somewhat of a question, more of a comment in the middle about the police opportunity, the police funding opportunity. And for clarification, I would ask Director Simmons, where is the police currently funded from in the village, Cary?
It's from the general fund.
Okay.
Mhm.
And what is the total amount of impact fees going to the general fund?
It would be $1 million.
And how is the timing of that paid out over the course of this development?
That would be essentially upfront from the development standpoint. That would be revenue that would come into the village on a for sale as the for sale units are sold. So that would be the phase 3 of the project. So those funds should be accumulated, received by 2028.
So as each of these for sale units are closed on, there'll be an impact fee paid to the village of Cary that will be put into the general funds, which general funding, our usage in the general fund for the police department is near 50%, is that correct?
We're 60s.
We're closer to 60%? Okay, so
Mhm.
60 cents of every dollar that comes in the general fund goes to the police department. So it's easy to say that this $1 million impact fee is gonna generate about $600,000 to the police department.
Possibly, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and just so people realize that how we fund these various departments, our police department is funded by our general fund for their operation. But their police pension fund, when you look at your tax bill, the village of Cary takes 5% of your tax bill. Out of that 5%, 2.5% of that goes to our state mandated pension fund. We don't get that. So all the services that we provide to our community, residents and businesses, from the property taxes are 2.5% of your tax bill. Think about that. We take in about roughly now, it's about $3 million a year through property taxes. That's not a lot of money. So we're very cognizant of that to make sure that we keep our property taxes low. And in addition to that, we are required by the state to reach our police pension fund. It's got to be 95% funded by the year 2040. We are about 62% there. We are so far ahead of all the other municipalities. We are very financially strong when it comes to these things. We take this very seriously. We took it to the next level that by 2040, our police pension fund will be 100% funded. We're not messing around with this anymore. We have taken the opportunity. This board is very strict when it comes to these things to make sure that we are providing the funding that we need, because that's money that comes from our general fund. So we give, what's the number this year? $1.5 million out of our general fund goes to the additional police pension. In addition to that, I got a crowd here, so I'm going to go here. The state owes us, we get what's called LGDF, which is a local government distributed fund. Everybody's got a job. They pay the state of Illinois. They pay the federal government their taxes. Well, 50 years ago, they decided that in order for the state to properly fund the villages without having a village enact their own state income tax, they would collect all the taxes and give us 10% back to the community that you live in. You get a paycheck, they know where you live, whatever the number is that you pay every year, 10% is supposed to come back to the municipality that you live in. Well, in 2011, I happened to be a trustee at the time. They asked us to tighten our belt. Things were really tough. We were getting 10%. They asked us to cut it in half. We'll do it for 1 year. Here we are 14 years later. We are at 6.3%. As of last week, the state of Illinois should have paid us $15 million. So you ask us, where does this go? What you're looking for? How are we going to fund these things? Well, when we have the state taking things away from us all the time, we do look at things. We have an operation. This is a business. We have to run it. We have a community with really high expectations, and I'm probably the biggest person with high expectations. I want our community to be successful. But we continue to deal with the state who loves to take money from us. And that's part of my job and my regional roles, that we lobby to get the monies back. We've been successful. They've been threatening to take more from us, but we've been successful at them maintaining it at 6.3%. But still, that's far from the 10% that we're supposed to be. Think about what we can accomplish if we had, over the last 12 years that we had that extra $15 million. Think of what we could have accomplished. The state, they love to take advantage of us. They took away the grocery tax. That sounded great. That sounded awesome. But did you know the state doesn't account for that? It's not in their budget. It was a pass-through to the municipalities and cities. So, of course, we reenacted that. We would have lost, I wish Kelly was here, like $1 million. $1 million a year. At the swipe of a governor's signature takes this away from us. But there was so much outcry about this that he gave us, even though we're a non-home rule community, which we have no additional taxing authority, they gave us the opportunity to reenact the grocery tax in 25% increments. And I would say 95% of the municipalities enacted that, because you would be foolish. I mean, it was $1 million to us. It's like $3 million to Algonquin. It's like $6 million to Crystal Lake. How do you fill a budget hole with that? I love our police department. We got a chief that's retiring. We have obligations. We have got to make sure that we are making these things. So when you look at and you're thinking that we're bringing all these huge things, we're looking at the long-term health and viability of our community. Something that's going to be a little misstep or what, we're going to get more bang for our buck. It's going to be very low impact to the community as a whole, low impact to our services. They pay as they go. So we have to be very cognizant of the fact that we have limited resources, and we make sure that the monies that we spend go to benefit the entire community, to the point where I'm going to end here. You guys need to hear this. You might as well hear it from somebody that's involved. With that 1% grocery tax that we enacted, we made a commitment that we will only use that 1% towards roads and infrastructure and capital improvements. That shows that we need to make sure that our roads are funded, that we have new squad cars, we have new snow plows, we have the abilities to do the things that our community wants. And that is our ultimate responsibility. And everybody here on this board knows that. They hear me talking about this all the time. You got to pay attention. You got to challenge your state legislature. That's where it starts. So I will end this here. Sorry. I think it's important that people know where our money comes from and where it goes. Think about if the state paid us the money that they owe us, how much better things would be. Anyway, so
I'm gonna toggle back to this issue. I appreciate that. And I think it's important that everyone hears it as well. But I just want to piggyback on what Trustee Persina said, and I think everyone of us feels the same way, and that is I want to thank everyone that is engaged in this process. And I want to encourage everyone to stay engaged in this process because it's important. You can already see the major changes that were made because you've been involved, because you've gave them your input, because you showed your concerns. So I want to thank everybody for working very hard, diligently to listen and to adapt and so our goal is to deliver the best product we can. So it's just a thank you to everyone that's here today and those that are not here today, but that have been engaged throughout the process.
I appreciate that. And Eric and your team, Brian, outstanding job. Nick, Kelly, our finance director, outstanding. Ryan, thank you very much for being part of this process. It's not easy. Again, we're trying to put together a sustainable and meaningful opportunity. Again, this is just about the financial package. This whole thing is not being approved, but for us to move forward in a meaningful and sustainable way, we have to go through this process. So now if the board approves this, then it goes to the zoning. And that's where we can get into the meat and potatoes of some of the things. We have a pretty much a high level, an idea of what it's going to be, how it's going to end up, but we have opportunities to go through the zoning, to hear the testimony and a public hearing that people can voice their opinions on the structural height, density, setbacks, all that kind of fun stuff. So anyway, anything else? Brian, did I miss anything? We're good? Nick, roll call, please.
Walworth,
Yes.
Dudek,
Yes.
Persina,
Yes.
McAlpine,
Yes.
Collier,
Yes.
Stefani.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. For the record, I'm a yes as well, although I don't vote on this. We had one other thing on the agenda, which we will not be calling in the event that we couldn't come to terms with this. We're going to give the developer an extra 30 days, but I'm going to table that, so we do not have that. So,
And for clarification, that was on, as the mayor mentioned, in the event that the discussion continued on beyond today. And the reason this was here is because the original pre-development agreement did expire on January 12th today. So to continue the discussion, it would have required a short extension. But given the vote that just occurred, that is not needed, so this item will not be acted on.
village staff update. Assistant Administrator Radcliffe, anything for us?
No update for me. Thank you.
Okay. Chief Finland, anything for your a parting shot, maybe?
No parting shot. Just thank you very much for recognition. It wasn't expected. Thank you to the board for the resources that you've provided to the department to, all of our personnel to do their jobs. Thanks to my colleagues that I've worked with. And again, yeah, we have had some spirited discussions sometimes, but I appreciate their interaction. So thank you very much.
I will admit that for the first time in how many years we're fully staffed. And that's one of his goals. That is, we didn't have funding for the last officer, and we found the money, so we are fully staffed, and that's a huge accomplishment. And our deputy back there is with his arms crossing a yes, right? One more person to manage. Director Noonan.
I have few updates here. Reminder for everyone: tomorrow we are going to have a public open house here in this room, 5 to 7 for the Alfresco Alley. We're looking for feedback from the public on what those improvements will be like. The Alfresco Alley is on right off of Spring Street between Cary Road and West Main Street, so that will be here 5 to 7 tomorrow night. Anyone unable to attend the meeting, there is a survey QR code on the screen here. If you aren't able to get that QR code, it is on our village website as well on the front page.
Thank you.
Two more things really quick. We have holiday light recycling still going on here at Village Hall as well as at fire stations 1 and 2. And then Christmas tree recycling by Flood Brothers is going on. Collections on your regular scheduled days through January.
Thank you. Hey, Deputy Clerk, got anything for us? Nothing? Okay. I will, what? I've heard enough from him for the last 2 weeks. Oh my gosh. You're gonna probably be so glad you're done with me he comes back from vacation, I'm in his face every day. Hey, sorry. It's all good. Any future agenda items in discussion by the village board? Oh, none said. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned at 8 o'clock.